Desmond Nash stared at the ceiling of his modest home office, the blue light from his computer screen highlighting the sharp angles of his face. At 42, he'd built a reputation in the tech industry as a brilliant strategist who worked from the shadows. Unlike the flashy CEOs gracing magazine covers, Desmond preferred to operate behind the scenes, turning failing companies into gold mines through innovative restructuring. His phone buzzed with an incoming call. "Nash," he answered tersely. "Desmond, it's Theo. We've got a situation with the Pinnacle deal." Theodore Hoffman had been Desmond's closest confidant since college, when they'd started their first tech company from a garage in Seattle. While Desmond had the vision, Theo understood people, making them a formidable team. "What kind of situation?" Desmond asked, instantly alert. "Someone's trying to sabotage our bid. We've lost access to the financial records we needed. Without them, we can't verify Pinnacle's assets." Desmond pinched the bridge of his nose. The Pinnacle technology acquisition had been months in the making, a deal that would finally cement Desmond's reputation and bring him the recognition he deserved. "I'll handle it." As he hung up, the bedroom door opened. Valerie Nash entered, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the late hour. At 38, she was the marketing director at Horizon Industries, a rising tech firm that competed with many of Desmond's clients. "Working late again?" she asked, barely concealing her disapproval. "The Pinnacle deal is in trouble." Valerie sighed dramatically. "You and your deals. We haven't had dinner together in weeks." "This is important, Val. So is our marriage." Their relationship had grown increasingly strained over the past year. When they'd met 6 years ago, Valerie had been impressed by Desmond's ambition and intellect. They'd married after a whirlwind romance, but lately, she seemed more interested in her social standing than their partnership. "I'll make it up to you," Desmond promised automatically. "You always say that." She paused, checking her expensive watch. "I have a charity gala tomorrow night. Will you at least try to make it?" "I'll do my best." With another sigh, Valerie left, leaving behind the lingering scent of her designer perfume. Desmond returned to his computer, determined to save the deal that could change everything. The next morning, Desmond arrived at his downtown office before sunrise. His assistant, Marissa Blake, was already waiting with coffee and updates. "I tracked down the issue with the Pinnacle records," she said, handing him a folder. "Someone inside Horizon Industries accessed our secure server. They're after Pinnacle too." Desmond flipped through the documents, his expression hardening. "Horizon? Are you sure?" "Positive. The digital fingerprints lead straight to their executive floor." He thought of Valerie. She'd been unusually interested in his work lately, asking casual questions about his clients and deals. He'd attributed it to her finally taking an interest in his career. "Thank you, Marissa. Get Theo on the line." As he waited for the call to connect, Desmond stared at a framed photo on his desk, Valerie and him on their wedding day. For the first time, he wondered if there was more to her recent distance than simple marital discord. Chapter 2. Suspicions. The charity gala was in full swing when Desmond finally arrived, straightening his bow tie as he entered the opulent ballroom. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over Seattle's elite, gathered to raise money for children's education while showcasing their wealth and influence. Desmond spotted Valerie immediately. She stood near the bar, laughing with a tall, athletic man in a tailored tuxedo. Her hand rested casually on his arm, their bodies angled toward each other with the easy intimacy of familiar lovers. The man was Brent Remington, Horizon Industries' charismatic COO. Desmond had met him several times at industry events, always finding him slick and superficial, a businessman who relied on charm rather than substance. Desmond approached silently, watching as Brent leaned closer to whisper something in Valerie's ear. She laughed again, the sound halting abruptly when she noticed Desmond. "Darling, you made it." Her smile was too bright, her eyes nervously darting between the two men. "I did." Desmond nodded coolly to Brent. "Remington." "Nash." Brent offered his hand, his smile never reaching his eyes. "Good to see you. We were just discussing Horizon's new product line." "I'm sure you were," Desmond replied, accepting a glass of scotch from a passing waiter. The tension among the trio was palpable. Valerie quickly excused herself to greet another guest, leaving the men in uncomfortable silence. "Your wife is quite knowledgeable about the industry," Brent said finally. "Horizon's lucky to have her." "Yes, she seems very invested in Horizon's success lately." Brent's smile faltered slightly. Everyone at Horizon is passionate about our mission. I'm sure. Desmond sipped his scotch, maintaining eye contact. Enjoy your evening, Remington. He moved away, mingling with other guests while keeping Valerie and Brent in his peripheral vision. Throughout the night, he noticed their furtive glances, the way they maneuvered to stand near each other, the brief touches when they thought no one was looking. Later that night, as they drove home in silence, Desmond contemplated his next move. Valerie's phone chimed with a text message. She glanced at it quickly, then turned the phone face down on her lap. Work? Desmond asked casually. Just Margot thanking me for the introduction to that art dealer, she lied smoothly. Desmond nodded, saying nothing more. When they arrived home, Valerie went straight upstairs to shower. Left alone, Desmond made a decision. He picked up her phone, unsurprised to find it locked. But Valerie had always been careless with security, using the same password for everything, her mother's birthday. He typed in the numbers. The phone unlocked, revealing a text from BR. Tonight was close. We need to be more careful. Has he mentioned anything about Pinnacle? Scrolling through their conversation history, Desmond found months of messages, some business-related, others intensely personal. There were photos Valerie had sent, intimate details shared, plans made. And scattered throughout, questions about Desmond's work, his clients, his deals, particularly Pinnacle. Instead of the rage he expected, Desmond felt an icy calm settle over him. He carefully replaced the phone, then went to his office and called Theo. I need everything you can find on Brent Remington and Horizon Industries, he said without preamble. And I need to accelerate our timeline on Pinnacle. What's happened? Theo asked, concerned. I've discovered an opportunity, Desmond replied cryptically. One that requires a change of strategy. The following week, Desmond maintained his normal routine, giving no indication of his knowledge. He watched as Valerie grew more secretive, leaving the house for meetings that didn't appear on Horizon's calendar, returning with a glow that had nothing to do with professional satisfaction. Meanwhile, he methodically gathered information. Theo delivered a comprehensive file on Brent Remington, his rise through the corporate ranks, his reputation as a womanizer, his tendency to take credit for others' ideas. Most importantly, his ambitious plan to become Horizon's CEO when the current chief executive, Philip Adler, retired next year. Horizon itself was in a precarious position. Despite its market reputation, the company had overextended, investing heavily in unproven technologies. They needed Pinnacle's patents and client base to secure their future, exactly why Desmond had targeted the smaller company first. Remington's been using Valerie to get information on our deal, Theo surmised during their private meeting at Desmond's office. Yes, Desmond's voice was devoid of emotion, and she's been a willing informant. What are you going to do? Desmond looked out his office window at the Seattle skyline, the gears of his mind turning. Changed the game entirely. Chapter 3, The Discovery. Late one evening, as rain lashed against the windows of their suburban home, Desmond sat in his darkened office, waiting. The house was silent save for the occasional rumble of thunder. At precisely 10:42 p.m., Valerie's car pulled into the garage. He heard her enter, moving quietly as if afraid to wake him. Her heels clicked softly on the hardwood floor as she passed his office door, unaware of his presence in the shadows. Late night? Desmond asked, flicking on his desk lamp. Valerie gasped, her hand flying to her chest. Desmond, you scared me. She composed herself quickly, slipping into the easy lies that had become her second nature. Client meeting ran long. You know how it is during campaign season. I do know how it is. He gestured to the chair opposite his desk. Sit down, Valerie. Something in his tone made her hesitate. Can't this wait until morning? I'm exhausted. I'm sure you are. Hotel rooms aren't known for their comfort. Her face paled. What are you talking about? The Fremont Hotel, room 842. You've been there for the past 3 hours with Brent Remington. Desmond's voice remained eerily calm. The same room you've booked every Thursday for the past 6 months. Valerie's expression shifted from shock to defiance. You've been spying on me? Gathering information. Something you're familiar with. He opened a folder on his desk. Let's see. You've asked about Pinnacle Technologies, Chromesoft security protocols, Rivateca's expansion plans. All clients of mine. All targets of Horizon's. Quite the corporate spy. It wasn't like that, she protested weakly. Then what was it like, Valerie? Explain to me how sleeping with Remington and stealing my confidential information is anything but betrayal. Her eyes narrowed, abandoning the pretense. You were never there, Desmond. Always working, always with your precious deals. Brent appreciates me. Brent appreciates what you can give him, access to my work and a willing body in his bed. How dare you? She stood abruptly. I've built my own career, my own reputation. By trading on mine. Desmond's voice remained level. Did you think I wouldn't notice? That I'd be too absorbed in my work to see what was happening right in front of me? What does it matter? Valerie shot back. Your work has always meant more to you than I have. Perhaps you're right. Desmond closed the folder. Pack your things. I want you out of this house by morning. You can't be serious. Deadly serious. The divorce papers will be drawn up tomorrow. Valerie's face contorted with fury. You'll regret this, Desmond. You have no idea what's coming. On the contrary, he replied, his eyes cold. I know exactly what's coming. But you don't. After she stormed out, Desmond called Theo again. It's time, he said simply. Are you sure? Theo asked. Once we start this, there's no going back. I'm sure. Initiate Project Eclipse. The following day, Desmond met with his attorney, Leanne Porter, a sharp-witted litigator known for her ruthless efficiency in divorce cases. She's been sharing your confidential information? Leanne asked, taking notes. That violates her non-disclosure agreement with your firm. Yes, but I don't want to expose the corporate espionage yet, Desmond explained. I have a different approach in mind, which is, I want to keep the divorce proceedings quiet for now. Create the papers, but don't file them immediately. And I need information on Horizon Industries' corporate structure, particularly their board of directors. Leanne raised an eyebrow. You're planning something bigger than a divorce. Much bigger, Desmond confirmed. Valerie and Remington think they've been clever, using our marriage to gain competitive advantages. They're about to learn what happens when you underestimate the wrong person. That evening, Desmond received a call from Philip Adler, Horizon CEO. The older man had once been Desmond's mentor before their professional paths diverged. Desmond, it's been too long. Adler's gravelly voice came through the speaker. I hear you've been asking questions about my company. Just doing my due diligence, Philip. Due diligence for what, exactly? Desmond hesitated, then decided to be partially honest. I believe there's a significant security breach at Horizon. Information is being leaked. There was a long pause on the line. Is this about Valerie? You know, I've had my suspicions about Remington for some time. He's ambitious, not always ethical. If he's involving your wife in something improper, I want to know. It's complicated, Philip. I'd rather discuss it in person. My house, tomorrow night. Come alone. After hanging up, Desmond smiled for the first time in days. The pieces were falling into place faster than he'd anticipated. When he arrived at Adler's lakeside mansion the next evening, he found the CEO waiting in his study, a glass of brandy in hand, and concern etched on his weathered face. Tell me everything, Adler commanded. Desmond revealed select details. Valerie's affair with Remington, their exchange of confidential information, the plot to undermine Desmond's acquisition of Pinnacle. Remington's been positioning himself to take my place, Adler said grimly. The board's been impressed with his performance numbers, but I've suspected he's been cooking the books. He has, Desmond confirmed, producing a file. My team found discrepancies in Horizon's last 3 quarterly reports. Remington's been hiding significant losses in your R&D division. Adler studied the documents, his expression darkening. This could destroy Horizon if it got out. It doesn't have to. Desmond leaned forward. I have a proposition. Chapter 4, Strategic Moves. 3 weeks after his confrontation with Valerie, Desmond sat in a wood-paneled conference room at First Seattle Bank, facing Walter Bryce, the bank's lending director. Through the large windows, the city sprawled below them, oblivious to the machinations taking place in boardrooms across the financial district. You want to secure a line of credit large enough to purchase controlling interest in Horizon Industries? Walter clarified, adjusting his glasses. That's ambitious, even for you, Desmond. Ambitious but calculated. Desmond slid a portfolio across the polished table. My analysis of Horizon's vulnerabilities, their true financial position, and my strategy for restructuring. Walter flipped through the documents, his eyebrows rising. You've been thorough. I always am. May I ask why Horizon? There are more profitable acquisition targets. Desmond maintained his professional demeanor. Horizon has valuable patents and market position. With the right leadership, it could be transformed. He didn't mention his personal vendetta. Walter didn't need to know that Valerie had moved in with Remington, or that they'd been spreading rumors about Desmond's failing business to mutual acquaintances. The board will need assurances, Walter said finally. This is a significant risk. Arrange a meeting. I'll provide all the assurances they need. Meanwhile, Theo was executing another part of their plan. As Desmond's right-hand man, he'd arranged a meeting with several key shareholders of Horizon Industries, ostensibly to discuss potential partnerships. In a private dining room at an exclusive restaurant, Theo presented carefully selected information about Horizon's financial irregularities to Preston Mills, who owned 8% of Horizon's stock. These numbers don't match what's been reported to shareholders, Preston observed, his brow furrowed. No, they don't, Theo agreed solemnly. My client believes the current COO has been manipulating financial data to enhance his position. Remington. Preston shook his head. I've never trusted that slick bastard. Adler's been grooming him as a successor, but many of us have reservations. My client might be interested in offering a better alternative. And who is your client? Theo smiled mysteriously. Someone with the vision to restore Horizon's integrity and market position. Someone willing to offer above market value for your shares. Similar conversations were happening with other significant shareholders. By the end of the week, Desmond had secured tentative agreements to purchase nearly 20% of Horizon's stock. Not enough for control, but a substantial foothold. The next phase required more direct action. Desmond arranged a private meeting with Philip Adler at the CEO's home again, away from corporate eyes and ears. The board is growing concerned about these rumors regarding financial impropriety, Adler reported, pouring them both scotch. Remington is on the defensive. Good. Desmond accepted the drink. Have you considered my proposal? Adler gazed out at the lake, contemplating. You want me to announce my early retirement, nominate you as my replacement, and use my voting bloc to support your bid for CEO. In exchange for significant compensation and protection from any fallout when Remington's deception is revealed, Desmond confirmed. What about Valerie? She's your wife, works for my company. This creates complications. Soon-to-be ex-wife, Desmond corrected. And her future at Horizon isn't my concern. Adler studied him thoughtfully. This is personal for you. Business and personal interests sometimes align. Remington won't go down without a fight. I'm counting on it. As Desmond implemented his strategy, Valerie and Remington remained unaware of the trap closing around them. They were focused on their own plan, securing Pinnacle Technologies before Desmond could complete his acquisition. What they didn't know was that Desmond had already changed tactics. He'd deliberately leaked misinformation about his Pinnacle deal, creating the illusion that it was moving forward while secretly putting it on hold. 1 month into his plan, Desmond received an unexpected call from Marissa, his assistant. Your wife is here to see you, she said cautiously. Ex-wife, he corrected. Send her in. Valerie entered his office with the confidence of someone who believed they held the upper hand. She dressed carefully in an expensive suit, her wedding ring conspicuously absent. Desmond, she took a seat without being invited. You've been busy. As have you. Congratulations on the Pinnacle account. Quite a coup for Horizon. She couldn't hide her surprise at his nonchalance. You're not upset? Why would I be? Business is competitive. Valerie studied him suspiciously. That's not the reaction I expected. What did you expect? Anger? Bitterness? Those are unproductive emotions. I thought you loved Pinnacle. It was your golden opportunity. Desmond smiled thinly. There are always other opportunities. Like what? That would be telling. He leaned back in his chair. What brings you here, Valerie? Surely not concern for my business prospects. She shifted slightly, revealing her discomfort. The divorce papers. Your terms are unacceptable. They're non-negotiable. Brent thinks. I don't care what Remington thinks. Desmond cut her off coldly. This is between us. You betrayed our marriage and stole confidential information. You're lucky I haven't pursued criminal charges. You wouldn't dare. It would damage your reputation too. Are you willing to bet your future on that assumption? Their eyes locked in silent challenge. Finally, Valerie looked away. I want the beach house, she said. No. Half your investment portfolio. The prenuptial agreement is clear. You get what you brought into the marriage, plus the settlement outlined in my offer. It's not enough. It's more than you deserve. Valerie stood abruptly. This isn't over, Desmond. On that point, we agree. After she left, Desmond called Theo. She's suspicious. We need to accelerate the timeline. The bank approved your credit line this morning, Theo reported. And Adler's announcement is scheduled for next week. Good. It's time for the next phase. Chapter 5, Counterattack. The news broke on a Monday morning. Philip Adler, longtime CEO of Horizon Industries, announced his intention to retire at the end of the quarter. The company's stock immediately dropped 7 points as investors reacted to the uncertainty. In his corner office at Horizon, Brent Remington watched the financial channels with growing excitement. He'd been positioning himself for this moment, carefully cultivating relationships with board members, showcasing his division's apparent success. With Adler stepping down, the path to so seemed clear. His phone rang. Valerie calling from her office down the hall. Did you know this was coming? She asked without preamble. I had hints, Remington replied smugly. Adler's been having health issues. The board will announce a succession plan by the end of the week. And you're the obvious choice. Of course, my division's performance speaks for itself. What Remington didn't know was that earlier that morning, Preston Mills and 3 other major shareholders had met privately with Philip Adler. The topic of discussion, Desmond Nash's offer to purchase their shares at a premium and his vision for Horizon's future. Across town, Desmond was meeting with Leanne Porter to finalize another aspect of his plan. The divorce papers are ready to file, she informed him. But there's something else you should know. Valerie has been inquiring about your client contracts, specifically any non-compete clauses that might prevent you from working with Horizon's partners. She's trying to block my potential business opportunities, Desmond deduced, laying groundwork for whatever Remington has planned next. It appears so. Let her. It's a waste of her time. Later that day, Desmond received a call from an unlisted number. It was Olivia Winters, Horizon's chief financial officer, a woman known for her integrity and analytical mind. Mr. Nash, she began formally, I understand you've been discussing certain financial irregularities in our reports. Desmond chose his words carefully. I've noticed discrepancies that concern me. I've had similar concerns for months, but my inquiries have been consistently blocked by Mr. Remington. Her voice lowered. I believe he's been manipulating data from his division to enhance his position for the CEO role. That's a serious accusation, Ms. Winters. One I'm prepared to substantiate. I've been keeping separate records. She paused. I understand you're meeting with our board tomorrow. News travels fast. In corporate circles, always. I'd like to meet with you beforehand. They arranged to meet at a quiet cafe away from both their offices. Olivia brought a flash drive containing her parallel accounting of Horizon's finances, figures that painted a much bleaker picture than the official reports. Remington's division is actually operating at a significant loss, she explained, pointing to specific discrepancies. He's been shifting costs to other departments and inflating revenue projections. Why are you showing me this? Desmond asked, though he already suspected the answer. Because Adler mentioned you as a potential successor. Because I care about this company. And because Remington threatened to have me removed when I raised concerns. Does Valerie Nash know about this? Olivia's expression tightened. She's been helping him conceal the true numbers from the marketing perspective, reframing negative results as investment in future growth. This confirmed what Desmond had already discovered. His plan was proceeding perfectly, pieces falling into place as if by design rather than careful orchestration. The following day, Desmond presented his case to Horizon's board of directors. With Adler's implicit endorsement and the evidence provided by Olivia, he outlined both Horizon's problems and his proposed solutions. Gentlemen, ladies, he concluded, Horizon stands at a crossroads. The company can continue down its current path of financial manipulation and gradually declining market position, or it can embrace transparent practices and innovative restructuring. I'm offering to purchase a controlling interest at above market value and lead Horizon into a more sustainable future. The board members exchanged glances, impressed by his presentation but wary of such a significant change. We'll need time to consider this proposal, Harold Vance, the board chairman, said finally. Of course, Desmond agreed, gathering his materials. I should note that my offer includes provisions to address the current financial irregularities internally, rather than involving regulatory authorities. The implicit threat was clear: reject my offer, and I'll expose everything. As Desmond left the boardroom, he spotted Remington watching from the corridor, his expression a mixture of confusion and growing alarm. Beside him stood Valerie, her eyes narrowing as she recognized her husband. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, approaching him while Remington remained at a careful distance. "Business," Desmond replied simply. "Horizon is an interesting company with significant potential, despite its current management issues. You're trying to interfere with Brent's promotion. I'm exploring investment opportunities. Nothing more." "I don't believe you," Valerie hissed. "This is about us, isn't it? You can't stand that I chose him over you." Desmond regarded her coldly. "Don't flatter yourself, Valerie. This is business." As he walked away, he could feel Remington's gaze burning into his back. The trap was set. Now he just needed his targets to spring it. That evening, Desmond received a phone call from Harold Vance. "Nash," the board chairman began without pleasantries, "Remington is making counter-accusations. He claims you're pursuing a personal vendetta because of your wife's relationship with him. Says you've fabricated financial inconsistencies to discredit him. Has he provided evidence that the financial records I showed you are incorrect?" "No, he's claiming you obtained them illegally through corporate espionage. The records came directly from your CFO, who was concerned about Remington's practices. As for my personal life, yes, my wife is involved with Remington. That's why I've disclosed this potential conflict of interest up front, unlike Remington, who has hidden both the relationship and his financial manipulations." Vance sighed heavily. "This is becoming messy. The board is divided. Perhaps a neutral third party should examine Horizon's books, someone with no connection to either myself or Remington." "That may be necessary," Vance admitted. "In the meantime, keep this situation contained. The last thing Horizon needs is a public scandal." "My thoughts exactly." After hanging up, Desmond smiled to himself. Right on schedule, Remington was reacting exactly as predicted, with desperate accusations rather than substantive defense. The next morning, Theo arrived at Desmond's office with new information. "Remington and Valerie were at the Pinnacle offices until midnight," he reported. "They're rushing to finalize their acquisition before your plan progresses further." "Perfect," Desmond replied. "They're focused on the wrong target. There's more. Remington has called an emergency meeting with Horizon's executive team, excluding Olivia Winters. I think he's going to try to rally support against you. Let him. The more desperately he fights, the more suspicious he appears." Later that day, Desmond received another call from Vance. "The board has decided to bring in forensic accountants," the chairman announced. "In the meantime, we're suspending both Remington and Winters pending the investigation's outcome." "A prudent decision," Desmond acknowledged. "And my offer? Still under consideration, but I'll be frank. If the accountants verify these irregularities, your position will be significantly strengthened." "I understand. Thank you for keeping me informed." The stage was set for the final act of Desmond's plan. Now he needed only to wait for the forensic accounting results, which he knew would confirm everything he'd presented to the board. Chapter 6: Rising Tensions. Valerie paced nervously in Remington's penthouse apartment, her heels clicking rhythmically on the marble floors. Rain streaked down the floor-to-ceiling windows, mirroring her emotional turmoil. "How could this happen?" she demanded. "You said the CEO position was practically yours." Remington loosened his tie, pouring himself a generous scotch. "Desmond blindsided us. Somehow he got to Adler, convinced him to support an outside candidate instead of promoting from within. You don't think he knows about the financial reports, do you? The adjustments we made. They weren't adjustments. They were strategic reallocations," Remington corrected irritably. "And no, there's no way he could know. Those records are secure." The doorbell rang, interrupting their argument. Remington checked the security monitor, then buzzed in Preston Mills, one of Horizon's largest individual shareholders. "This is unexpected," Remington said, forcing a welcoming smile as Preston entered. "We need to talk," Preston replied grimly, declining the offered drink. "I've just come from a meeting with several other major shareholders. Nash has made a compelling case for new leadership at Horizon." "Nash?" Valerie interjected. "Desmond Nash." Preston glanced at her, then back to Remington. "Yes, he's offered to purchase our shares at a premium and outlined a restructuring plan that addresses some concerning financial practices." Remington's face flushed. What exactly are you implying, Preston? I'm not implying anything. I'm telling you directly that Nash has evidence of financial manipulation in your division. Evidence that could interest not just the board, but federal regulators. That's absurd, Remington blustered. Nash is my wife's ex-husband. This is a personal vendetta, nothing more. Ex-husband. Preston raised an eyebrow, looking at Valerie. I wasn't aware you two had divorced. We're in the process, she said quickly. It's complicated. I imagine it is. Preston's tone was dry. Regardless of your personal situations, the shareholders are concerned about Horizon's financial integrity. The forensic accountants start tomorrow. If there's anything you'd like to clarify before they begin, now would be the time. After Preston left, Remington exploded in rage, hurling his crystal tumbler against the wall. That snake. He's turning everyone against me. We need to act quickly, Valerie urged. Get to the records before the accountants do. Impossible. They've locked down access to the financial systems. And Olivia's been suspended, which means she's probably the one who leaked information to Desmond. Then we need leverage, Valerie insisted. Something to force Desmond to back off. Like what? She considered for a moment. The Pinnacle deal. If we can close it before he does, we'll strengthen our position significantly. Pinnacle's board is hesitant. They've heard rumors about our financial situation. Then we need to sweeten the offer. Promise them executive positions, guaranteed contracts, whatever it takes. While Valerie and Remington scrambled to salvage their situation, Desmond was methodically advancing his plan. The forensic accountants had begun their work, and preliminary findings already confirmed the irregularities he'd identified. At his downtown office, Desmond reviewed the latest shareholder agreements with Theo and Leanne. He now controlled or had commitments for 37% of Horizon stock. Not quite a majority, but enough to exert significant influence. Vance called, Theo reported. The board meeting has been scheduled for Friday. They'll present the accountant's findings and vote on your proposal. And Remington? Desperate. He's been calling board members nonstop, making all sorts of promises and accusations. What about Valerie? Focused on Pinnacle. She's scheduled meetings with their executive team for tomorrow. Desmond nodded thoughtfully. She always did think too small. Pinnacle is a distraction, not the main prize. Should we intervene? Leon asked. No. Let them pursue Pinnacle. It keeps them occupied while we secure Horizon. The next day brought an unexpected development. Desmond received a call from Walter Bryce at First Seattle Bank. Someone's been inquiring about your loan application, the banker informed him, asking specifically about collateral and terms. Did you provide any information? Of course not. Banking confidentiality is sacred. But I thought you should know. It was Brent Remington making the inquiries. Interesting. He's looking for financial leverage. There's more, Walter continued. He implied that you might be using insider information obtained through your wife to manipulate Horizon's stock price. Ex-wife, Desmond corrected automatically. And that's rich, coming from him. I assumed it was baseless, but felt you should be aware. Thank you, Walter. I appreciate the heads up. After hanging up, Desmond called Theo. Remington's getting desperate. Increase security on our systems and warn our key people to be vigilant. He may try something reckless. That evening, as Desmond worked late in his office, he received an unexpected visitor. Marissa ushered in Olivia Winters, the suspended CFO of Horizon, looking tense and disheveled. I apologize for coming unannounced, she began. But I thought you should know. Someone broke into my home office. My personal records of Horizon's finances are missing. Remington, I can't prove it, but who else would benefit? The timing is suspicious, just as the forensic accountants are starting their investigation. Do you have backups? Yes, stored securely off-site. But that's not all. She hesitated. There was a note. Back off or Nash goes down too. Desmond's expression hardened. They're trying to silence you and threaten me simultaneously. There's more. Board member Harold Vance called me an hour ago. Remington and Valerie met with him, claiming they have evidence that you and I conspired to manipulate Horizon's stock by spreading false information. Projection, Desmond observed, accusing us of exactly what they've been doing. It gets worse. They've apparently convinced Pinnacle CEO to issue a statement questioning your business practices, suggesting you attempted to pressure them into an unfavorable deal. Desmond smiled unexpectedly. Perfect. Olivia looked confused. They're systematically undermining your credibility. They're playing exactly the game I expected. Every accusation they make, every desperate move, only strengthens our position in the long run. He paused, studying her. The question is, are you prepared for what comes next? Their attacks will intensify. I've spent 15 years building my reputation on integrity, Olivia replied firmly. I won't let Remington destroy Horizon or my career with his deceptions. Good. Because tomorrow is when everything changes. The following morning, Desmond arrived at Horizon Industries headquarters for a meeting with Harold Vance. Security personnel escorted him through the lobby, where employees stared curiously. Word had spread about the power struggle unfolding in the executive suites. In the elevator, Desmond's phone rang. It was Theo. It's happening, his friend said without preamble. Remington just announced to Horizon's executive team that he's secured Pinnacle's acquisition. He's positioning it as a major victory that proves his leadership capabilities. Right on schedule, Desmond replied calmly. Proceed with Phase 3. The elevator doors opened on the executive floor. As Desmond stepped out, he came face to face with Valerie, emerging from a conference room. Her expression shifted from surprise to contempt. Still pushing your vendetta? She asked coldly. Still backing the wrong horse, he countered. Brent just secured Pinnacle. The board will recognize his value now. Congratulations. A small victory before the fall. Her eyes narrowed. You're awfully confident for someone about to lose. Perspective, Valerie. It's all about perspective. Harold Vance appeared in the corridor. Nash, Valerie, I didn't realize you were both here. Just leaving, Valerie said quickly. I have a meeting with the Pinnacle transition team. As she walked away, Vance gestured Desmond into his office. Complicated situation, he commented, closing the door. It's about to become much clearer, Desmond assured him. Remington's announcing the Pinnacle acquisition as we speak. It's quite a coup. Is it? Or is it a desperate attempt to distract from the financial irregularities the forensic accountants are uncovering? Vance looked troubled. Their preliminary report is concerning. But Remington claims you've manipulated the evidence. The numbers speak for themselves, Harold. And there's something else you should know before tomorrow's board meeting. Desmond handed him a sealed envelope. This contains proof of Remington and Valerie's systematic corporate espionage, not just against my clients, but against Horizon's own partners. This is... Vance studied the contents, his face paling. The complete picture, Desmond finished for him. Tomorrow, the board will need to make a decision based on all the facts, not just Remington's selective narrative. As Desmond left Horizon's headquarters, he felt the momentum shifting decisively in his favor. The board meeting tomorrow would be the culmination of months of careful planning and strategic patience. His phone buzzed with a text from Philip Adler. Remington's celebrating the Pinnacle deal. Little does he know. Desmond smiled. Indeed, little did Remington know that Pinnacle was merely a pawn in a much larger game, one that would conclude with Desmond's complete victory. Chapter 7. Checkmate. The morning of the board meeting dawned clear and bright, a rarity for Seattle in autumn. Desmond dressed meticulously in his finest suit, a subtle armor for the battle ahead. Today would mark the culmination of his carefully orchestrated plan. As he adjusted his tie, his phone rang, Theo with the final confirmations. Everything's in place, his friend reported. The board members have all reviewed the forensic accounting report. Olivia's evidence has been verified by independent experts. The shareholder proxies are secured. And Remington? Still celebrating the Pinnacle acquisition. He's scheduled a company-wide announcement for this afternoon, planning to use it as his platform to claim the CEO position. Perfect timing, Desmond remarked. He won't see it coming. Valerie's been calling around, trying to gauge board support. She seems nervous. As she should be. Desmond arrived at Horizon's headquarters early, meeting briefly with Harold Vance before the official board meeting began. The evidence is overwhelming, Vance admitted, looking troubled. Remington has been systematically manipulating financial data for over 2 years. The Pinnacle acquisition, while legitimate, was secured through questionable promises and potential misrepresentations. And the board's position? Divided until yesterday. Now, with the full forensic report and the additional evidence you provided about the corporate espionage, the majority appears to favor your proposal. The boardroom filled gradually with Horizon's directors, 12 men and women who would determine the company's future. Philip Adler arrived last, nodding subtly to Desmond before taking his seat. At precisely 9 a.m., Vance called the meeting to order. Ladies and gentlemen, we face an unprecedented situation. The forensic accounting report has confirmed significant financial irregularities within Horizon, particularly in divisions under Mr. Remington's control. Murmurs filled the room as Vance distributed copies of the report. Additionally, we have evidence of corporate espionage involving Mr. Remington and our marketing director, Valerie Nash, targeting both competitors and partners. This is outrageous, Remington protested, rising from his seat at the far end of the table. These accusations are part of a personal vendetta by Desmond Nash, whose wife chose me over him. The evidence speaks for itself, Vance replied firmly. Multiple independent experts have verified these findings. What about Pinnacle? Remington countered. I just secured the most significant acquisition in Horizon's recent history. Doesn't that count for anything? The Pinnacle acquisition will be reviewed in light of potential misrepresentations made during negotiations, Vance explained. But today, we must address the leadership of Horizon moving forward. For the next hour, the board reviewed the evidence, asked questions, and discussed options. Throughout, Desmond remained calm and focused, answering inquiries precisely while Remington grew increasingly agitated. Finally, Vance called for the vote on Desmond's proposal, his purchase of controlling interest in Horizon and appointment as CEO, with Philip Adler remaining as chairman emeritus during the transition. Those in favor? Vance asked. Hands rose around the table, 8 of the 12 board members supporting Desmond's bid. The motion passes, Vance announced. Mr. Nash's offer is accepted, subject to final documentation. Mr. Remington, in light of the forensic accounting findings, you are terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building. This is a mistake, Remington sputtered, his face flushed with anger. You can't do this. It's already done, Vance replied impassively. Please gather your personal belongings. Your access to Horizon's systems has been revoked. As security personnel appeared at the boardroom door, Remington turned to Desmond with undisguised hatred. You planned this from the beginning. No, Desmond corrected. You and Valerie planned this from the beginning. Using my wife to steal confidential information, manipulating financials to enhance your position, undermining colleagues who questioned your methods. I simply ensured you received the appropriate consequences. After Remington was escorted out, the board discussed transition arrangements. It was decided that Desmond would be introduced as the new CEO at a company-wide meeting that afternoon, the very meeting Remington had scheduled to announce the Pinnacle acquisition. During a brief recess, Desmond called Theo. It's done. The board approved the deal. Congratulations, CEO Nash, Theo replied. Want me to inform Valerie? No. I'll handle that personally. Valerie was in her office, unaware of the board's decision, when her assistant announced that the new CEO wished to see her. Expecting Remington, she quickly checked her appearance in a compact mirror before calling. Send him in. Her smile froze when Desmond walked through the door. What are you doing here? She demanded. Where's Brent? Mr. Remington has been terminated, Desmond informed her coolly. The board has accepted my offer to purchase controlling interest in Horizon. I'm the new CEO, effective immediately. Valerie stared at him in stunned disbelief. That's impossible. It's done. The forensic accountants confirmed everything. The financial manipulation, the corporate espionage, all of it. You can't prove I was involved, she said quickly. Can't I? Desmond placed a folder on her desk. Emails, text messages, recordings of conversations with Horizon's partners where you solicited confidential information. Your fingerprints are all over this, Valerie. She opened the folder, her face paling as she scanned its contents. These are private communications between you and various business contacts, using your Horizon email and devices. Company property, not protected by any privacy expectations. What do you want? She asked finally, her voice barely audible. Your resignation, effective immediately. And if I refuse? Then I'll fire you publicly at the company meeting this afternoon, detailing exactly why you're being terminated. Your choice. Their eyes locked in silent combat, but they both knew Valerie had no leverage left. Finally, she reached for a notepad and began writing her resignation letter. You've been planning this all along, she said bitterly. This whole time, while we thought you were after Pinnacle. You never understood what truly mattered, Desmond replied. You and Remington were so focused on the immediate prize that you couldn't see the larger game. And now you've won. Now justice has been served. At 3 o'clock that afternoon, Horizon's employees gathered in the company auditorium, buzzing with rumors about the board meeting and Remington's sudden departure from the building. Harold Vance took the stage first, addressing the assembled staff. Today marks a significant transition for Horizon Industries. Following a thorough review of our financial practices and leadership structure, the board has unanimously approved new direction for our company. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as Vance continued. It is my privilege to introduce Horizon's new Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Desmond Nash. Desmond walked onto the stage amid confused applause. Many employees recognized him as Valerie's husband, creating additional bewilderment. Thank you, Harold, Desmond began, surveying the audience. He spotted Valerie at the back of the auditorium, her expression a mask of controlled fury. My wife told me I couldn't come to her office party because I'd embarrass her, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. That night, I finalized the deal I'd been working on for months. The next morning, I showed up at her office with a security team. He paused, his eyes finding Valerie's in the crowd. Everyone, meet your new CEO, announced Harold Vance from beside him. Desmond watched as Valerie dropped her coffee mug, the sound of shattering ceramic barely audible over the shocked gasps of the audience. Honey, you're fired, he said calmly, his words echoing in the sudden silence. The auditorium erupted in whispers and exclamations as security personnel approached Valerie, ready to escort her from the building just as they had done with Remington earlier. This is just the beginning, Desmond continued, addressing the stunned employees. Horizon has tremendous potential that has been compromised by questionable leadership and financial practices. Together, we will restore this company's integrity and market position. Those who have been honest and hardworking have nothing to fear. Those who have participated in deception. He let the implication hang in the air. As Valerie was led away, Desmond outlined his vision for Horizon's future: transparent financial reporting, innovative product development, and ethical business practices. The employees listened attentively, their initial shock gradually giving way to cautious optimism. After the meeting, Desmond met with the executive team in the conference room that would now be his domain as CEO. Olivia Winters had been reinstated as CFO, her vindication complete. The transition will take time, Desmond acknowledged to the assembled executives. There will be questions from partners, customers, and the market. We'll address them honestly, emphasizing our commitment to restoring Horizon's reputation. What about Pinnacle? Asked the head of business development. Remington promised them executive positions and guaranteed contracts. Promises he had no authority to make, Desmond pointed out. I'll meet with Pinnacle's leadership tomorrow to renegotiate terms that benefit both companies without compromising Horizon's interests. As the meeting concluded, Desmond stood at the window, looking out at the Seattle skyline. The first phase of his plan was complete. He had taken control of Horizon and removed Valerie and Remington from their positions of influence. But true victory required one final step. His phone buzzed with a text from Theo. Remington and Valerie just left her apartment with suitcases, heading to the airport. Track them, Desmond replied. I want to know exactly where they're going. The game wasn't over yet. Chapter 8. Consequences. 1 month after assuming control of Horizon Industries, Desmond sat in his expansive corner office reviewing quarterly projections. The transition had been smoother than anticipated, with most employees rallying behind his leadership after the full extent of Remington's deception became public. Olivia Winters entered, carrying financial reports. The market's responding positively to our revised guidance, she noted. Stocks up 12% since the announcement. Transparency builds confidence, Desmond replied. How's the Pinnacle integration progressing? On schedule. Their team appreciates our straightforward approach after Remington's grandiose promises. Good. And the internal audit? Nearly complete. We've identified most of the financial irregularities and implemented corrections. After Olivia left, Desmond turned to the matter that had occupied his thoughts increasingly over the past weeks: Valerie and Remington's whereabouts. His investigators had tracked them to a luxury resort in Bali, where they apparently believed themselves beyond reach. Theo arrived for their scheduled meeting, bringing updates on personal rather than business matters. They've established residency in a villa on the island, he reported. Using cash for most transactions, minimal digital footprint. Remington's been making inquiries about investment opportunities in Southeast Asia. Using whose money? Desmond asked pointedly. That's where it gets interesting. Theo placed a folder on the desk. We've traced significant transfers from offshore accounts linked to Remington in the weeks before his termination. Approximately $8 million moved through a series of shells before landing in a Singaporean bank. Horizon's money? Almost certainly. The forensic accountants found corresponding discrepancies in the financial records. He was siphoning funds for at least 2 years, preparing his escape route. Desmond absorbed this information silently, his expression hardening. Have you shared this with Harold Vance? Not yet. I thought you'd want to decide how to proceed. Contact him immediately. The board needs to know. And reach out to our legal team. I want options for recovering those funds. Later that day, Desmond received a surprising call from Preston Mills, one of the shareholders who had supported his takeover. I was in Singapore on business, Preston explained, and saw someone very familiar at my hotel bar, Brent Remington, appearing quite relaxed for a man who should be worried about potential criminal charges. Is Valerie with him? Didn't see her, but he mentioned meeting his partner for dinner. He was loose-lipped after a few drinks, boasting about how he'd secured his future regardless of what happened at Horizon. Interesting. Did he recognize you? Don't think so. I kept my distance, just close enough to overhear. He mentioned something about a venture capital firm in Jakarta, seeking investors for tech startups. Thank you, Preston. This is valuable information. After hanging up, Desmond called his attorney, Leanne Porter. We need to pursue international asset freezes. Remington's attempting to establish new business ventures using stolen funds. That's challenging across jurisdictions, Leanne cautioned. We'd need substantial evidence. We have it. The forensic accounting report, the money trail, witness testimony. Work with Horizon's legal team. I want everything in motion by the end of the week. The legal process was complex and time-consuming, but Desmond was patient. Justice, like revenge, required meticulous planning and precise timing. 2 months later, as Desmond finalized plans for Horizon's new product launch, he received the news he'd been waiting for. International authorities had frozen accounts linked to Remington in Singapore, Indonesia, and the Cayman Islands, based on evidence of financial fraud and money laundering. Theo arrived with additional updates. Local police in Bali have seized their passports pending investigation. They're effectively trapped there while authorities determine if extradition is warranted. And their reaction? Panic, according to our sources. Remington's been frantically contacting former associates, looking for help or loans. Valerie tried to access her personal accounts, only to discover they've been frozen as well. Has she attempted to contact anyone here? She called Marissa yesterday, trying to reach you. Desmond raised an eyebrow. And Marissa followed your instructions, told her you were unavailable, and took a message. Valerie claimed she had no knowledge of Remington's financial activities and wanted to discuss terms for returning to the U.S. Abandoning her partner at the first sign of trouble, Desmond observed coldly. Predictable. The following week, Desmond received an email from Valerie, sent from an unfamiliar address. It was brief and desperate. Desmond, I made a terrible mistake. Brent lied to me about everything. I had no idea he was stealing from Horizon. Please, I need your help. The authorities have frozen all my accounts. I can't even book a flight home. Whatever happened between us, I don't deserve this. Please call me. Valerie. Desmond forwarded the email to Leanne with a simple instruction. Document for the case file. No response necessary. His focus remained on Horizon's future, not Valerie's past betrayals. Under his leadership, the company was rapidly regaining market confidence and expanding into new territories. The Pinnacle acquisition, renegotiated on terms favorable to both companies, had strengthened Horizon's technology portfolio significantly. 3 months into his tenure as CEO, Desmond held a strategic planning session with his executive team in the same conference room where he had once confronted Valerie. Our market position has improved 32%, Olivia reported proudly. The transparency initiatives have restored investor confidence, and employee morale is at a 5-year high. Excellent, Desmond nodded. What about the legal proceedings? Horizon's general counsel, Martin Reeves, consulted his notes. International authorities have formally charged Remington with multiple counts of fraud, money laundering, and embezzlement. The evidence is overwhelming. He's facing potential extradition and significant prison time. And Valerie? Complicated, Martin admitted. While she clearly participated in corporate espionage, proving her knowledge of the financial fraud is more difficult. She's been charged with lesser offenses, currently negotiating with authorities. Negotiating means providing evidence against Remington, Desmond surmised. Precisely, turning on him to save herself. After the meeting, Desmond stood by his office window, watching the Seattle rain. His plan had succeeded beyond even his expectations. Horizon was thriving under his leadership. Remington faced ruin and imprisonment, and Valerie had lost everything. Her career, her reputation, her relationship, her financial security. Theo joined him at the window. Remington's attorney reached out this morning. He's offering to provide additional evidence about other co-conspirators in exchange for leniency. Rats deserting the sinking ship, Desmond commented. First Valerie betrays him. Now he's looking to implicate others. That's not all. Valerie's been granted permission to return to the U.S. on condition that she testify against Remington. She arrives next week. Desmond's expression remained impassive. Inform security. She's not to be allowed on Horizon premises under any circumstances. Already done. And your divorce is final as of yesterday. Leanne had the papers delivered to your condo. Good. That chapter is officially closed. Later that evening, as Desmond prepared to leave the office, his assistant Marissa appeared at his door. There's a call for you on line 1. It's Valerie again, calling from Indonesia. She sounds desperate. Desmond considered for a moment, then nodded. Put her through. He picked up the phone, hearing Valerie's voice for the first time in months. Desmond? Thank God you answered. What do you want, Valerie? I'm coming back to Seattle next week. The authorities have cleared me to return if I cooperate with their investigation. I need somewhere to stay. All my assets are still frozen. That's not my concern. Please, Desmond. I made a mistake. I never knew what Brent was really doing. Didn't you? His voice was cold. You were perfectly willing to betray our marriage and steal confidential information for him. Why draw the line at financial fraud? That was different. I thought it was just business competition. I never imagined he was stealing money. Your moral distinctions are convenient, but unconvincing. What do you want from me? She asked, her voice breaking. I've lost everything. My career, my savings, my reputation. Isn't that enough? That's justice, Valerie, not revenge. You made choices. Now you face the consequences. So that's it. You won't help me at all. I already have. I provided authorities with evidence that distinguishes between your actions and Remington's. That's why you're allowed to return while he faces extradition. Consider it my final act as your husband. After hanging up, Desmond gathered his things and left the office. His work here was complete, not just the business transformation of Horizon, but the personal reckoning he had orchestrated for those who had betrayed him. Justice, like success, required not just intelligence but patience and precision. Desmond Nash had demonstrated all three, emerging victorious while his enemies faced the consequences of their own treachery. Chapter 9, New Horizons. 1 year after taking control of Horizon Industries, Desmond hosted the company's annual gala in the Grand Ballroom of Seattle's most prestigious hotel. The event celebrated not just Horizon's remarkable financial turnaround, but its emergence as an industry leader in ethical business practices. Dressed impeccably in a tailored tuxedo, Desmond moved through the crowd of employees, partners, and investors, accepting congratulations with modest acknowledgement. Under his leadership, Horizon stock had tripled in value. Its product line had expanded into groundbreaking territories, and its corporate culture had transformed from toxic competition to collaborative innovation. Theo approached, champagne in hand. Quite a difference from last year's gala, he observed. Indeed. Desmond surveyed the room thoughtfully. Last year, I was an outsider watching Valerie and Remington plot against me. Now you're the visionary CEO who saved Horizon from disaster. Theo finished. The board couldn't be happier. They're voting on your contract extension next week. 5 more years, substantial equity increase. The company's success is what matters, Desmond replied, though satisfaction was evident in his expression. Speaking of success, Theo lowered his voice. I thought you'd want to know. Remington's extradition was finalized this morning. He'll be returning to the U.S. in custody next week to face 27 counts of financial fraud, embezzlement, and money laundering. And Valerie? Still testifying against him. She's working as an administrative assistant at a small marketing firm. Apparently, no company in the industry will touch her at the executive level after what happened here. Desmond nodded, unsurprised. Actions had consequences, a principle he had ensured both Valerie and Remington learned thoroughly. Harold Vance approached, interrupting their conversation. Desmond, there's someone I'd like you to meet. He gestured to an elegant woman beside him. This is Alexandra Mercer, the new head of Westridge Technologies. They're interested in potential collaborations. Alexandra offered her hand, her grip firm and confident. Mr. Nash, your reputation precedes you. Please, call me Desmond. He found himself intrigued by her direct gaze and poised demeanor. I've followed Westridge's advancements in quantum computing with interest. Perhaps we could discuss potential synergies between our companies, she suggested. My team has some ideas that might align with Horizon's new direction. I'd like that. As the evening progressed, Desmond found himself increasingly engaged in conversation with Alexandra, not just about business possibilities, but broader topics ranging from technological ethics to Seattle's evolving cultural scene. She was intelligent, witty, and refreshingly straightforward. Later, as the gala wound down, Desmond stepped outside onto the hotel's terrace for a moment of quiet reflection. The Seattle skyline glittered before him, the Space Needle illuminated against the night sky. Alexandra joined him, offering a glass of scotch. You seem like you could use this. Thank you. He accepted gratefully. Large events can be draining, even successful ones. I understand. It's strange being the center of attention when you're accustomed to working behind the scenes. He looked at her with newfound interest. You've done your research. Of course. I make it a point to know who I'm dealing with. She smiled slightly. Your approach to the Horizon takeover was masterful, patient, strategic, comprehensive. Not the impulsive vengeance many might have pursued in your position. You know about that too. The business world talks, Desmond. Your ex-wife's affair with the COO, their attempted corporate espionage, your methodical response. It's become something of a cautionary tale in executive circles. And what's the moral of this cautionary tale, in your assessment? Don't betray someone smarter than you, she replied simply. And perhaps, that justice is more satisfying than mere revenge. He raised his glass in acknowledgement. Perceptive. I try to be. She turned to face the city view. I was married once too. He was unfaithful, though less dramatically than your situation. No corporate takeovers were required. How did you handle it? I left him, focused on my career, built something meaningful. The best revenge, as they say, is living well. Indeed it is. Their conversation was interrupted by Theo, appearing at the terrace doorway. Sorry to intrude, but your speech is scheduled in 5 minutes. Desmond. Of course. He turned to Alexandra. Perhaps we could continue this discussion another time? I'd like that. Dinner, perhaps. I'll have my assistant call yours. As Desmond re-entered the ballroom to deliver his address to Horizon's assembled stakeholders, he felt a sense of completion. The chapter with Valerie and Remington was ending exactly as he had orchestrated, with justice served and his position stronger than ever. The future held new possibilities, both for Horizon Industries and for Desmond personally. He had proven himself not just a brilliant strategist, but a leader capable of transforming a company's fortunes and culture. And perhaps, in Alexandra Mercer, he had found someone worthy of his trust, a prospect he approached with caution but genuine interest. 2 weeks later, as Desmond reviewed quarterly projections in his office, Marissa appeared at his door. Mr. Nash, there's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment. Who is it? Valerie Nash. Or, I should say, Valerie Carter now. She's changed her name back. Desmond considered for a moment. Send her in. Valerie entered hesitantly, a shadow of her former confident self. Her clothes were simple, lacking the designer labels she once wore exclusively. Her expression was guarded, uncertain. Thank you for seeing me, she began, remaining standing even when Desmond gestured to a chair. What brings you here, Valerie? Our divorce is final, and you're banned from Horizon premises. I'm leaving Seattle, she said simply, moving to Portland for a fresh start. Before I left, I wanted to say something to you face to face. Go on. You won. Completely. Brent is facing years in prison. My career is in ruins. My reputation is destroyed. She paused, swallowing hard. I wanted to ask, is it enough? Will you ever forgive me? Desmond studied her dispassionately. Forgiveness isn't relevant, Valerie. You made choices. So did I. The outcome is the natural consequence of those choices. That's it. No emotion, no closure. What did you expect? That I'd be consumed by bitterness or gloating in triumph? I simply ensured that justice was served. Your betrayal taught me a valuable lesson about trust and revealed opportunities one might otherwise have missed. He gestured to the office around them. Horizon is thriving under my leadership. My life has moved forward. While mine has been destroyed, she said bitterly. Not destroyed. Reset. You're young, intelligent. Build something new, something honest this time. Valerie stared at him, struggling to reconcile this calm, detached man with the husband she had betrayed. I never really knew you, did I? No. You saw what you wanted to see, a successful but unambitious consultant you could manipulate and exploit. You never bothered to understand what I was capable of. Well, I understand now. She moved toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, I am sorry. I believe you are. Not for the betrayal itself, but for its consequences. After she left, Desmond returned to his work, giving their encounter no more thought than a business meeting of minor importance. The past was settled. His focus remained on the future. That evening, Desmond met Alexandra for dinner at an upscale restaurant overlooking Puget Sound. Their business discussions had evolved into a personal connection that surprised him with its ease and depth. I saw Valerie today, he mentioned as they finished their meal. She came to my office before leaving Seattle. Seeking forgiveness? Alexandra asked perceptively. Ostensibly. In reality, I think she wanted to see if I still harbored feelings for her. Anger, bitterness, anything she could use. And do you? Desmond considered the question honestly. No. She and Remington are pages in a chapter that's concluded. I learned valuable lessons, but I've moved forward without looking back. That's rare, Alexandra noted. Most people cling to old grievances. Let them shape their future actions. That would give them power they don't deserve. Desmond raised his wine glass. To new horizons, both professional and personal. To new horizons, she agreed, her eyes meeting his with understanding and possibility. Later that night, as Desmond stood at the window of his downtown penthouse, watching lights reflect off Elliott Bay, his phone buzzed with a news alert. The headline read, Former Horizon executive sentenced to 15 years for massive fraud scheme. Remington's downfall was complete, the justice system confirming what Desmond had proven through his methodical campaign. Betrayal carried consequences, especially when the betrayed party possessed the patience and strategic vision to orchestrate a perfect response. Desmond closed the news app without reading further. That chapter was finished. Tomorrow brought new challenges, new opportunities, and perhaps, with Alexandra, new possibilities for trust and connection that he had thought himself incapable of after Valerie's betrayal. He had emerged not just victorious but stronger, wiser, and more successful, living proof that the best response to betrayal wasn't emotional vengeance but calculated justice, delivered with precision and patience. The man who had been underestimated, whose wife had feared he would embarrass her at a company party, now stood at the pinnacle of corporate success, his former adversaries reduced to cautionary tales. Desmond Nash had not just survived betrayal. He had transformed it into the foundation for his greatest triumph. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.